This presentation is for Mr. Myron Zimmerman. My name is John Sutz. One of my very good friends is Dr. Lenny Crystal. And some time ago, I asked Lenny if he happened to know any Israel supporters who are very frustrated with the existing state of pro-Israel advocacy and the inability of top-line Israeli Jewish organizations to defend Israel and Jews against what I term the propaganda jihad, meaning the mass incitement by professionals and even very organized groups of volunteer activists to incite mass hatred of Israel and Jews in the media and through human rights groups and beyond. And Lenny happened to mention that you are an outstanding advocate for Israel and the Jewish people, and that your heart and mind are in the right place, and that you are deeply concerned about exactly what it is that I'm talking about. And the reason that I asked Lenny for referrals to people such as this, particularly those who have been funding the existing, what I would term, failed infrastructure of pro-Israel advocacy, is because for 3 years I've applied my creativity and my media skills to theorizing a completely new means of fighting back against the propaganda jihad. And Lenny seemed to think that you were a person that might be very interested in what it is that I propose. So who am I and what is it that I propose? And Lenny basically suggested that I record a 4 or 5 minute sort of extended elevator speech for you, so that you can get a gist as to who I am and what I propose and why I'm qualified to pursue it and what it is I'm looking for, so that you can decide whether or not to take a further look at the presentation, 4-page presentation that I've created, documenting my concerns and how I propose to help solve them. So, as you are probably well aware, probably much more aware than I, of the deep animosity towards Israel around the world, I've pulled up some data just to put some numbers to this in case you were not aware of it. That according to a world survey of 25 nations, Israel is viewed as having a mainly negative influence on the world, and it's only ranked above Israel or Iran, Pakistan, and North Korea now. 4 times as many Europeans now support the Palestinians as support Israel. 50% of Americans in general support Israel over the Palestinians, and amazingly, only 38% of Americans under age 30 support Israel over the Palestinians. Despite what you may hear from other pro-Israel advocates, the situation is grave, and the pro-Palestinian, pro-radical Islamist propagandists and their tools, their allies in the Western media, are running away with this because we have not figured out a way to combat the mass incitement of hate against Israel and Jews. And it's for that problem that I've applied my creativity. So who am I? My name is John Sutz. I am a creative consultant, graphic designer, copy and script writer, and most of my skills, the highest level skill that I have, is what's called analytical graphics and visualizations. Basically, what my specialty is in converting very complex data into graphic visualizations that the average person can understand and find persuasive. And most of my work in this regard has been applied to the field of law in helping to create winning courtroom presentations for high-value litigation, complex litigation, public advocacy, etc. My highest aspiration in this regard is to use my skills to advance liberty and limited constitutional government and free enterprise, and to help defend America in general. That's my long-term life mission. But for now, what I'd like to limit the discussion to is how I intend to use these skills, along with my other creative skills, to help to defend Israel and Jews in a completely new way. The situation currently is that, as I'm sure you've seen through your years, a fantastic libel is published in a newspaper or on TV or on an internet site smearing Israel for something. For instance, The Huffington Post is now the #1 most read online newspaper in the world. And several years ago, they published a front page story alleging that Jews, Israelis specifically, murder Palestinians to, quote, harvest their organs. The story was sourced through a Swedish newspaper, but the Huffington Post knew, because it's in their own story, that the writer, the reporter behind the story, admitted that he has no idea, no clue, that's a direct quote, if it's true or not. Yet they ran the story on the front page anyway. Numerous doctors and medical professionals around the world wrote articles in smaller newspapers affirming that this is medically impossible. The Huffington Post did not write that, did not feature any of those stories. And because of the size and influence of the Huffington Post, this story went around the world. It was picked up by many smaller blogs, and it went viral. In case you don't know that term, it just basically became the narrative. Israel became viewed as a nation that murders Muslims, Palestinians specifically, to harvest their organs. And how did the pro-Israel advocacy groups fight back? Well, they wrote long dissertations documenting this whole thing, which was published for their supporters on their internet sites, and it went out in their newsletters. And a number of bloggers like myself fought back. We wrote detailed articles documenting this whole thing, the lie, the fact that they won't go back and correct it or apologize or anything. And the thing is that the general public doesn't hear any of this. They don't know any of this. And the only thing that occurred was that the Huffington Post got a lot of traffic, and as a result, their advertisers who make this whole thing possible got a lot of visibility for their wares. And because the public is not aware of this and the media won't touch it, the advertisers currently can say, well, we don't know what you're talking about. If someone presented this to them, well, we certainly aren't aware of this. We're just trying to get our name out there. And the thing is that the pro-Israel establishment is intent on presenting professorial and long written tracts for the converted, for the choir, that nobody else but them read, and maybe the conservative blogs pick a little bit of it up, and the next day it's the same thing. And that's how this narrative is created. The ADL, the AJC, the Simon Wiesenthal Center, on and on. They may complain, but nothing happens. And I have run into this thing over and over again. I've attempted to persuade them to hire me, to fund me, to help to develop an aggressive response to this whole thing. They don't want any part of it. As a matter of fact, the most shocking part of the whole thing is, even after being confronted with this evidence, the heads of the ADL and the AJC and even the Simon Wiesenthal Center are bloggers there at the Huffington Post. So I've been left sort of on my own to try to figure out a solution to this whole problem. And the solution that I've come up with, at least in theory, is called the Sponsor Truth Project. And what the Sponsor Truth Project is going to be a model of activism that can be replicated around the world, and it will be a methodology by which the advertisers, the sponsors that enable the Huffington Post and the BBC and the Guardian and the New York Times and all these publications that incite hate against Israel and Jews, mass hate against Israel and Jews, to be once and for all held accountable. They are the money tree. Without them, nothing happens. So imagine for a moment if you are the CEO of Cadillac or Discover Card or Chase Bank, and you're confronted at a cocktail party by somebody who says, we understand that by advertising at the Huffington Post, you were just trying to get your message out before as many eyeballs as possible. We understand that. But what you may not know is that by advertising there, you've also been enabling the world's largest online inciter of hate against Israel and Jews. And the CEO will look back and say, I don't know what you're talking about. We're just trying to get our advertising message out. And we say, sure, we understand that. But here, contained in this envelope, is a detailed summary of the evidence that we've amassed to support this contention. And contained in there also is a DVD. It's a video that walks you through the evidence, dozens and dozens of instances to show this is not an accident. These aren't things that slip through the cracks, and they aren't misinterpretations. So we'd really like you to look through this for the next 30 days because and let us know what you're going to do. Because if after 30 days you continue to advertise there, You will never again be able to say with any credibility that we didn't know what it is that we're enabling. And by the way, Mr. Zimmerman, this entire presentation, this entire confrontation or presentation is being recorded on video, and it's being posted on a website showing the date, when it was delivered, and of course it won't be to the CEO, but it would be to the front desk. It would be to their PR person. It would be their marketing chief of marketing. The point is, there has to be a methodology to get it in the hands of a decision maker or one of their representatives on video or a recording methodology some way. And then a timer starts, and we tell them, and by the way, you're free, obviously, you're free to do what you want. In a free speech society, you can continue enabling it if you want. But you should also know that we're also going to be making a documentary of just those sponsors who've made the conscious choice in the face of the evidence to continue enabling this. The documentary is going to be named "Who's Funding the Propaganda Jihad?" So we really look forward to your response. Thank you very much. And it's all being done with a smile and on the presumption that they don't know what's going on. This entire presentation, the entire delivery, is being recorded on video and posted on a website along with all the evidence. So I believe that the only way that this situation is ever going to change is if those who write the big checks and who currently enjoy plausible deniability are once and for all held to public account, and the public is presented with the information concerning the mass incitement of hate against Israel and Jews in a way that they can understand. And keep in mind that the average adult today, average American adult, can't read above an 8th grade level. And 25%, that's 50%, and 25% can't read above a 4th grade level. So it has to be delivered in a way that they can understand and remember. And by doing this, my hope is to create such a situation in which publications such as this and human rights groups who engage in this type of behavior become so politically radioactive that the ones who write the big checks to them realize that the market consequence of continuing to do so, being that they've publicly been put on notice with clear evidence of dozens and dozens of instances of this, that they're going to realize that there is a potentially very severe market price to pay, and that the price they'll pay for walking away from these entities is far less than what they'll pay if they continue. So what is it that I want from you? What I would like is the opportunity to talk to you a little bit further about this, to submit for your consideration the 4-page executive summary and funding request for the Sponsor Truth Project. And specifically what I'm looking for right now is $30,000 to continue and complete developing the business plan for this organization. I would imagine, as a successful business person yourself, you might imagine that this is going to take a significant amount of money, a significant amount of manpower and public coordination in order to operate an organization that will be dedicated to this purpose, not just in the U.S., but around the world. And I have been working on this on and off for the last 18 months. I did receive $10,000 in seed capital from the Middle East Forum, which has agreed to act as a conduit for tax-deductible donations for the rest of the money that I seek to research and develop this business plan. So that is the status. That is where things stand right now. I am eager to talk to you about this further. I have forwarded to Lenny the 4-page executive summary of the Sponsor Truth Project, and there is a time sensitivity factor to this. There is a certain urgency to my request, which I'm happy to describe to you if you choose to reach out and contact me. Suffice to say, for now, there's just simply a time urgency on my side that makes this request somewhat urgent. So I appreciate your time in listening to this pitch, which I think ran a little over 5 or 6 minutes, but obviously this is a project that could potentially change everything regarding Israel and the perceptions, and I appreciate your time, and I look forward to the prospect of talking to you and possibly working with you on this project. Thank you again, sir.